everybody. Thanks for waiting. We were waiting for a lot of people to come on that weren't on the phone lines yet. So welcome today. I think we got a great webinar here. I think the directions we're talking about today around communities are very important, and what the DuraSpace organization is really doing is vital, I think, to the entire education community. We at SUN, via the SUN Preservation Archive Special Interest Group, PACIG, will stay in close alignment with DuraSpace as we go forward. We've had a very close working relationship to date. A lot of the directions we're taking technologically around the IT aspects of and the hands-on aspects of developing archives, repositories, and preservational architectures will be focused on things we'll talk about today, like the small archives. Where we're looking at cloud computing. We're looking at data curation around eScience data sets. So everything is pretty much in lockstep directionally with where the DuraSpace people are going. So I think this is a very opportune and timely discussion. We do have a program at SUN for some of the new listeners around matching grants. So as you start getting grants, and especially for people developing small archives around museums or historical societies, we do have a matching grants program. So please use the SUN education resources as best you can. And again, we have a dedicated sales force, so they do know how to talk to education customers. Next, I will be at the Data Curation Conference in London with our Chief Architect, Keith Rajecki, in London, December 2nd to 4th, if anybody wants to have meetings there. We will also be having a regional Preservation Archive Special Interest Group in Boston on December 10th. You can register that if you're local, on the SUN PACIG website, www.sun-pacig.ning.com. We will be having more regional events as we go into the next calendar year. We also will be working with ALCTS, the Collection and Technical Service of ALA, on a January 14th conference. We will be one of the sponsors for that at ALA. And right now, the main PACIG event that we're looking at in Europe will probably be Southern Europe, Mid-Europe, Southern Europe, and probably in the May timeframe. So if you are planning to attend the next global PACIG, that'll be in May in Europe. So with that, I hope everybody's on now, and let me turn it over to Carol.
Thanks, Doris, and welcome everyone to the All About Repositories web seminar series co-sponsored by Sun Microsystems, DuraSpace, and Stark. My name is Carol Mint Morris, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Director for DuraSpace, which is a not-for-profit organization providing open technologies for durable digital content. In today's web seminar, we're taking a new look at grassroots solution communities with DuraSpace speaker Thorny Staples, who is Director of Community Strategy and Alliances, and also the Fedora Project, and Dal Hollister, who is the Director of Community Development and also of the DSpace Project. Before I turn it over to Thorny, I want to remind you of a few upcoming All About Repositories web seminars. So tomorrow, actually, we're going to be looking at open storage SAM architectures, and that's going to be happening at 8 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time. And that's going to be followed by a web seminar on December 2nd with the Internet Archive, Web Archive, and SUN's Modular Data Repository, a grand experiment in production. On the 16th of December, we're going to be looking at repositories in the cloud and how to participate in the DuraCloud pilot program. And that will be followed on January 13 by a web seminar entitled Enabling Open Scholarship. And this is really going to be starting to look at Creative Commons licenses, what they mean, and what your options are if you want to make your content more accessible. So with that, I will turn it over to Thorny Staples.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm glad you could make it. Let's see. There we go. Start off by telling you that our solution community program, we've been working on it for a while over the last year at a very low level, sort of trying to figure it out and get things together and get our tool sets straight. And we believe we're at the point now where we're really ready to go. So that's why we're doing this webinar now. I just want to start out by telling you that at DuraSpace, we believe we're a mission-driven company, that we have a variety of software products. We really think the point of all of our activities is the mission, and our products support that mission. So all of our products are very key to our mission at this point, and over time we will pursue the software tools that people need to provide a framework for long-term durability of the digital information. We see ourselves as a catalyst for a community of developers for this current set of open source products, and wherever they may lead, we're in the process of starting up a new one now called DuraCloud. We've had webinars about that one before, so I won't tell you about it today. But again, the point of that is that the mission will always drive the software rather than the other way around. We don't see ourselves as a product-driven organization. So I just wanted to make that clear. Our current open source portfolio includes Fedora and DSpace, obviously, and then Mogera, which is a RDF engine that is increasingly being used. You can use it within Fedora. And our cloud product, which is all about replicating your data out of repositories or even off of any disk drives you have in your institution in the cloud and replicating, making multiple copies of them for preservation purposes, and also running a variety of services in the cloud. So all of those products fit into this mission, and we believe at this point they very much are the right things to be doing for the mission. So we are, as a company, we do have an awful lot of the repositories, the open source repositories in action worldwide. We have so we don't know exactly how many, but we know we're pretty sure it's over 1,000 at this point worldwide. And these dots on the map don't give you that exact number, but they show you the concentration of where we are. So we're worldwide. Our products are in use in academic and government agencies and businesses worldwide. We do see our main concentration, our purpose is really centered around the open source, cultural heritage, academic kind of communities, but we serve all these other communities as well. We have sort of a three-part view of how our communities fit together, the communities that we serve, and obviously, as I've just been saying, the first view of that is the users community, the people who actually are using our products to provide services to the world, provide digital information in durable ways to the world. We see very active and growing participation. The speed of uptake in our products is accelerating rapidly with each new development and each new version that comes out. We see growing use. And we actually see a very active and growing community of users on our websites and in our programs supporting each other, which is a big part of the goal. Like I said before, we see ourselves as a catalyst for these communities. DuraSpace is not funded and able to be providing all of the resources that these communities need. We are there to help organize the communities to be able to help each other and help themselves. And so that all seems to be active and growing, as I said. The developers community, obviously, since we're an open source software company, basically, is one of our most important communities. And providing the infrastructure and being the catalyst that helps the developers community develop and really thrive is one of our primary purposes. And we do at DuraSpace provide a technical lead for each of those products I talked about. So we have one full-time, very sophisticated programmer person to be leading the technical aspect of each one of those programs. And then for DSpace and Fedora, we have Val and I leading the product, directing the project as well. end of the year, both DuraSpace and Fedora will have community managers for their software releases. DuraSpace has had this for a while. Fedora started out being a grant-funded project between two universities, and we've been slowly moving to being more community-oriented. And things are, again, accelerating rapidly. We just decided this summer to have the next release, or to get a community person to manage a release in the next year, and it happened much more quickly. So that will happen by the end of the year. We have very active developers of both our core software products, but also all kinds of applications and products to be used with them and on top of them. And that community is thriving and accelerating as well. But what's missing in all this is a way to get the people who are interested in the topic but aren't necessarily programmers or direct users of the software into the conversation. And a lot of what's missing is getting the decision makers, sort of mid-level, technically aware decision makers, into the conversations to figure out how we can start to help collaboration happen. What I think we're seeing across the board is that everyone is off trying to do these things by themselves largely, and that's just not going to scale, and it's not going to be very sustainable over the long haul. So finding a way to bring these people together, get them comfortable with each other so that they know each other is one of our goals. And just to underscore it, I think our primary goal with this whole solution community program is to create the conditions where collaboration can develop and thrive. Collaboration is something we all talk about, but it's very hard to pull off. And helping create the right situations so that we can help it thrive is very much like one of our activities that we're concentrating on. So as I said before, our mission is the most critical thing. So these solution communities are our way of organizing the community to help us drive the mission better and better so that can then in turn drive the software. We have 4 active communities right now: preservation and archiving, Scholars Workbench, which is Scholars Workbench is the name that we've landed on, but it's things like as well virtual research environments. The terms are kind of difficult to get the right name, but Small Archives is another one, and data curation. We'll be telling you more about those and giving you a tour of their wikis in a little while. Some other ideas that we've been hearing about, and these are open, and we were willing to start other ones if we had interest, and we identify someone to help lead them. So media archives and scholarly publishing are 2 obvious areas that we know we'll probably be moving into soon. Any other ideas you have, get in touch with me. We're very interested in starting whatever ones of these programs that will thrive. So as I said before, everyone can't do this alone. We need to pool our resources, and we need to get together to develop these software tools. I can tell you from being involved with the Fedora project for the last 10 years that last 9 years, that this is an expensive and time-consuming process, but the more you can get a larger group of people together to do it, the better you can pull it off. So, as I said before, we're not going to be able to sustain a bunch of open source custom solutions in our community. We're going to have to get together and share them if we want them to last. And the whole point of durable systems that support durable information is that they are continuous. They may change, but there needs to be a line of continuity that they move forward. And I think collaboration is the best way to make that happen. And one critical thing about I think critical point that gets lost sometimes in open source software development, people's understanding of open source software development, is that, developers really aren't doing this because they're hobbyists. I mean, some developers do it on their own time and get a lot of really cool stuff done, but a lot of this is done by people who are on the job, and management has to understand what they're doing and provide the time and support. And I believe the best way to do that is to draw some of management into the process, into the thinking and the planning around the solutions that we're all trying to come up with. So that's a big part of what we're trying to, the change we're trying to affect through solution communities is bringing the mid-level managers together so they know what's going on. We're following a theory that is out there in social community development based on emergence, the idea from emergence that comes out of complexity theory. There's some interesting literature out there on the homepage of our Solutions Community Wiki that I'll show you. There's a couple of links you might be interested in. But the basic idea is new levels of order emerge out of increasingly complex activity. So the more you get people together that share information, create resources, and start to depend on each other's information and know each other, the more they get to know each other, the more you're starting to establish the conditions where people can start to trust each other, trust that the resources will be there, trust that these other people who they're starting to get to know, that they could actually collaborate with them. I think that's the key point to getting these communities going. Once they're going, they can develop in all kinds of ways, and we don't really know how that's going to happen. That's part of this whole process. And we're not going to get too caught up in theory, I promise you. This theory is a good guidance sort of framework, but ultimately we've got to be pragmatic and follow wherever it leads. And some of the communities are already showing that that's the case. Getting started the idea is to recruit at least one person. There's the first person who has an interest, who's got some drive, and who's willing to help you get it going. Because this depends on not just us at DuraSpace, but community members who are willing to step up and help us get it going and really take the lead in just organizing it. And so identifying a person, and that person would help us identify more people, and getting a committed group who's ready to be the organizing group and to do a little bit more to help get it started is the way we're doing it. Then that group creates a statement of possibility, which is like a mission statement or a vision statement for what the community is all about. And the real point is to create a starting point, a first version. But then the community, as it grows and as people start to come into its orbit and participate, you can refine it over time to get a better idea and keep it alive. But one of the main things that's in the whole emergence theory, it's all about complexity is where people start to share information. People are other things. It's not just people in that theory. But in social systems, people start to share information. And as they share more information, they start to get to know each other. Well, establishing a knowledge base seems like the right core about the activity. And I think we're seeing enough evidence already that that's true. But the idea is getting that knowledge base so that it's a supple and growing thing. And that means that people have to be able to easily get in and add information. But as you all know from working with wikis, when people do that, you start to get a little bit of a mess, and someone has to be able to clean it up. So we're setting these communities up with a particular role in the community that's aimed at doing that. And using a wiki is an obvious way to set that up. The other thing about creating community and getting this going is creating events. Events like this, a webinar where we're talking to you guys about both events where people can meet face-to-face, like birds of feather sessions at conferences where people normally tend to be. Having other kinds of virtual activities online increasingly is going to be part of the picture. And then using asynchronous communication technology so that people can continue to share information when it's convenient is another key part of it. So the organizing group, as I said, is the key to getting started. And this is really all about not creating a hierarchy. It's all about creating the community that can enable the activity to get going. So this is not the people who are doing it for the community. These are the people who are trying to create the conditions so the community can do it for itself and together. And taken from some theory, and we're using this basic ideas from some people who've been doing a lot of development around bottom-up community development. There's three roles that are key to this. And these can be individuals, and in the beginning I think they usually are. We try to recruit somebody in each one of these positions. The steward is the key one, and that's the person who really is the driver to get it going in the beginning, who has the vision, who's willing to share it, create something, a vision that's tangible that other people can grab onto and participate in. And then that person is responsible for making sure that community has what it needs to operate, so that they have ways of collaborating, that we can start to set up meetings and use conference calling and all the other things, and a lot of what DuraSpace provides. But the steward is the person who should take charge of getting all that together. And it doesn't mean that person has to do everything themselves. They have to make it happen. They have to find someone to help them do it. And that's what all these roles are about. The second role is what we call the wiki gardener. And this is all about talking about how the wiki, the knowledge base, can get a little messy at times. It also needs some encouragement. It needs some recruitment itself to get people to add information. So the wiki gardener is the role which can quickly turn into a group who's out there doing that and sort of weeding and transplanting and fertilizing the knowledge base. And then the third role is the evangelist, and that's the person who is out there looking for really good new members and trying to recruit them, getting people involved. And a lot of this is involved getting people who you know will be really good for the community and bringing them in. So all three of these roles together are the core of the organizing group. But as you'll see in at least one of our communities, we have a larger group, organizing group of people that aren't necessarily in one of these roles, but they're helping and willing to help push things along. And then, so this organizing group, as I said, has to be ready to take the lead in the beginning. Maybe one of the things we're starting to realize is we have to, on our mailing list, we need to nudge the conversation along, so maybe the organizing group ends up having to push a little bit more and post more to get other people going. So, but anyway, we're off and running with 4 groups with these kind of organizing group now. And now I'll turn it over to Val so she can tell you about some of the tools we're using.
Hello, everyone. As Tony said, my name is Val Hollister, and I'm the Director of Community Development for the DuraSpace organization. And I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about the tools that support the Solutions Community Program and hopefully the emergence of, in the future, lots more community involvement in that effort. DuraSpace provides a suite of tools for the solution communities as a part of our mission to be a catalyst for durable digital content worldwide. We have designed some frameworks for the solution communities to help support and facilitate the emergence of the groups and also the activities of the groups. So the tools that the Solution Community Program itself has is free and open to anyone who wants to participate, regardless of what platform they use or what organization they represent. All of these things are free and open for anyone to get involved with. With the Solution Community Framework and the tools that it supports, the idea is to have several different ways to interact or engage with other people who may have similar interests within a particular solution community or subject area similar to yours. So the idea is you can involve yourself in whatever ways that are appealing to you, and you can engage with whatever suits you, and hopefully be drawn in not to just learn new information yourself, but also sharing your knowledge and ultimately collaborating on a variety of projects that may benefit the entire solution community. So I'm going to go into detail now about the 5 ways that you and others can choose to get involved with the solution communities: wikis, mailing lists, social networks, surveys, or webinars. As already mentioned, one of the core structures or core resources of our solution communities is this idea of the growing knowledge base, and the wiki platform as a source for interaction and a growing knowledge base, so that there's a common space for everyone to gather information and gather knowledge about what's happening within each of the groups. As you can see on this page, I have some screenshots, and later Zorni and I are going to take you on a tour of each of the individual groups so you can see for yourself a bit more about them. But the screenshot at the top of the page is actually the main solution community page, which gives you an orientation to the program as a whole. And then each solution community has its own set of wiki pages. It has a front page, and you can see a sample of the preservation and archiving solution community on that second screenshot towards the bottom of the page. And each of the solution communities has identified on the front page its statement of purpose or its mission that defines who the group represents and what the aims of the group are. It also has a link on that front page to how you might get involved if you're interested in that group, a quick summary of different things that they have happening within the group. Most of the groups also have identified some case studies, some interesting examples of how organizations can address different issues. Some of the groups also have what we call blue sky. If you could have anything that you wanted, what would be really helpful for you. And then we also have a page, a link off of this homepage for each of the solution communities to the organizing group that Thorny outlined previously, identifying the steward, the gardener, and the evangelist. So you'll see the names and the institutions that they represent, and you'll be able to contact them. Again, the main idea is to provide a framework for individuals to add useful resources, links to contribute to the knowledge base, and this is the main public face of the solution communities. It could also certainly be used in the future as a shared workspace to develop new ideas for requirements or functional requirements for platform improvements. And Thorny and I, again, will give you a tour in detail on each of them. Second tool that we have for solution communities is a mailing list, a distinct mailing list for each of the solution communities. And it's really the primary communication vehicle for the group. Initially, the purpose, of course, was to discuss among the participants who first started out in the group what the statement of purpose or the mission is going to be about that group. And I think those conversations have been reignited recently and continue to go on and are drawing people into kind of that dynamic conversation about what the highest and best use of the group is as people see it today. So those are useful discussions, and those discussions will be ongoing on those mailing lists. But basically, the mailing list is a forum for discussion, questions, information sharing. Another vehicle for exposing to the larger community what solution communities are about is the social network. And this social network can also potentially solicit more involvement through the larger DuraSpace social network. It's attached to the larger DuraSpace social network, again, in an effort to provide multiple ways for individuals to engage with the DuraSpace community, people who may not initially be interested or even aware of what solution communities are about, can learn about them on the DuraSpace social network and then go visit the wiki knowledge base. And if they have expressed an interest, or if someone on the social network observes them with an interest and is involved in one of the solution communities, can go seek them out if they find that they have something that might be worthwhile to offer to the solution communities. The social network that DuraSpace has provides some basic information about solution communities to anyone who wants to participate, and it gives some references for finding out more. It also allows people to informally affiliate with those groups. So when they go through their user profile in the social networks for the larger DuraSpace community, they can actually self-identify as having a particular interest in preservation and archiving, for instance. So it's a pretty low barrier, kind of low impact sort of feel for an individual to just say, yes, I have an interest in preservation and archiving, and yet you then start to see yourself in this group and potentially can find ways to interact and get some benefit from sort of that informal connection. Like any social network, it provides a personal visual way for individuals to interact. So it's not just this mailing list or a wiki knowledge base. You actually get to see the profiles and photos of people who have joined the social network. So it becomes a bit more personal, a bit more direct for people to get involved with, and easier for some people to connect in that way. There's also, of course, other ways and other reasons to come to that social network, and so other benefits for people as well, to find out information on areas that may or may not relate directly to a specific solutions community. So you can offer your own experience or familiarity with specific topics, or if you're curious about something, you can connect with people in that way on the social network. So it's not just, is not just to come and find out about solution communities. It's a very broad based way to connect with people. I am going to take us out actually to take a look now at the DuraSpace solution, the DuraSpace Cloud9, which is where the pilot of our social network is taking place. And you can see here that we have several different tabs at the top, and this is really the home page for the social network. This is the dashboard here that you're seeing. You see we have several different tabs up at the top. One of them is specifically devoted to solution communities. It gives a brief description of what they're about and also provides a link to the wiki so people can find out more information. Additionally, when you go to join the social network, you complete a profile that has basic information, and then we also customize it to include your ability to affiliate yourself, as I indicated before, with a specific solution community. So it gives a real quick description, also the link off to the wiki. Again, if you get to this point and you haven't read anything about solution communities, don't know exactly what they are, you can go off and read about them there. But then allows you to very casually identify yourself as having an interest in those, as well as these other questions that may be helpful in finding people that you might want to connect with. You can state what you think your areas of experience or familiarity are, or what your current area of interest is. So how does the profiles questions kind of play out on the dashboard page, I think, is the interesting part. You see up here at the top we have the current activity, the members that have the most recent activity. You can go here to all members and see all the people that are currently using the DuraSpace social network, as well as a brief description, brief excerpt from their user profile. Down here, kind of in the main body of the page, you can see what kind of discussions have been going on recently and follow all of those. But I think kind of the most interesting part to us in our discussion here today is down here on the right-hand side, there are these tag clouds based on the user profiles that everyone completes. And you'll see here the solution community, we call it the solution community sprout, has a tag cloud based on who and what types of answers have been provided for in that user profile when people originally signed up for Cloud9. So you can click on any one of these answers and it will take you immediately this very visual representation of people who have affiliated with preservation and archiving. And it's a great way, again, to see how broad the interest is, and you're immediately connected visually to people. Excuse me. Additionally, if anyone who's self-identified with preservation and archiving has posted any discussion items, their discussions will be listed here on the right-hand side. So again, it gives you some vehicle for communicating with people as a group and also people individually. You can message people directly if they don't care to post things publicly. We also have the tag clouds for those other interesting user profile questions, the area of experience and familiarity, as well as the area of interest. We'll go back to the presentation. Okay, another way that we have provided a tool for the solution communities to interact and get some exposure is by using surveys. So far, 2 of the solution communities have used surveys to engage with the broader community, the preservation and archiving group, as well as the small archives group. And although the surveys are in no way scientific and they're not even really soliciting a specific list of priorities that the solution communities are going to have going forward. The goal is really instead to solicit ideas about more broadly what issues organizations face and what tools or resources they may find helpful. So it's really an initial temperature read on where people are and where their interests lie. And hopefully at some point in the future, there can be some basis for learning of ways to collaborate together. A secondary benefit to the surveys, not just to gather information, but it was also a very helpful marketing tool. It was a great vehicle to give some exposure and inform people about what's happening and what solution communities are and what their potential may be. So we made a point that each of the organizing groups who put together those surveys made a point at the end of the survey to solicit participation with the groups by pointing out both the wiki as well as the mailing lists. And we saw a corresponding bump in each of the participation rates in the mailing list. We had more people sign up for those mailing lists. So the groups now are still looking at the data from those surveys and discussing how best to use that information, but it's definitely something that has been a useful endeavor. And lastly, and I think it was this is also something that I believe has a lot of potential going forward in the future, is the use of webinars to reach a lot of people all at once. And specifically, we are going to be using a tool called Illuminate, which is much more geared for educational and interactive experience. It allows you for both informal and formal presentations. So you can feature topics or have case studies and where you talk in a more formal webinar presentation such as this one, or you can use it more in a workshop brainstorming context so that you can start to come together and collaborate on ideas and solutions. So again, it's offered as an opportunity to be very interactive, using a variety of tools, a shared whiteboard, various ways to chat or interact, but much more workshop-like as opposed to formal presentation. And that we're looking forward to developing more events in 2010. And one of the things, as Thorny was talking, that I thought about, we have in the toolbox that we've been exploring as well is in conjunction with conferences and events. We've been holding these birds of a feather, which is certainly another way to get exposure and get conversations going and kind of ignite the groups in a very personal, direct way. And some of the best conversations that we've had in the last 6 months about solution communities have come from those birds of a feather at Open Repositories 2010. And I know there's been some meetings recently that have had a lot of interest that sparked a lot of interest in the solution communities. So now Thorny and I are going to spend some time showing you each of the wikis for the 4 solution communities that are up and running. So I will turn it back over to Thorny for that.
Okay. Get my desktop here. Okay. This is the page, the sort of home page in our on our wiki, the DuraSpace wiki this is the wiki page at the top for solution communities. It sort of summarizes the program a little bit, gives you the list of the active groups, and then gives you some links off to other. There's a community development methodology that talks about that theory a little bit that I was showing you earlier. An open issues page that is a place where we can talk about open issues more at the high level with the whole program. That was really more active earlier. And there's a bibliography that has a couple of publications that I found really useful in putting this whole thing together. So I encourage you to come here and wander around. But for right now, we want to show you just a little bit about each one of these. And so if I go to preservation and archiving, here's the general template. I had started this out almost a year ago, and then as DuraSpace was formed and DSpace and Fedora merged and Val came into the picture, between the two of us, we got going a lot better and came up with a new framework. And so this is the general template for how we're operating. This is a short, like 3 to 5 lines is at play to get going to talk about what's the vision of this community, what's the purpose, why are we doing it. So people who come and discover this have some idea of what's going on. This should be something that can grow and change over time. And then there's the sort of basic structure of the knowledge base for this community should sort of begin to give you an idea. I like to think of this as a way of, just by seeing the categorization of the information, it starts to paint a picture. And the idea is we want people to be able to see themselves in this picture. We want them to look at this and be able to start thinking, oh, I'm getting what these people are going on about, and to get involved. And so the get involved page is obviously the first, and I'll show you one. I don't need to show you them all. They're basically the same thing. But so this gives you the different ways to get involved, and just sort of, again, to give people an idea of what's going on, in addition to some direct links. And so this first link will take you back to the knowledge base where we just were, but it puts it in some context. Here's a link that if you want to join the mailing list for this group, you can click here and it'll take you off to the mailing list to get yourself set up. Contributing to the knowledge base, all you need to add to the wiki is you have to go through setting up an account process. It's a real simple process, but we have to do it so we don't, everyone, if you don't have a little bit of the gatekeeping process, your wiki can really get to be a mess. Basically, you just have to go and interpret a couple of pictures and fill in some blanks and give your email and get yourself set up with an account, and then you can add to the wiki. But this link will take you there. And then we just talk about some of the other things that are the ideas behind it. We haven't gone back and done it. We had it in the early template for this page. The crowdbind connection we need to add back in here. We're still experimenting with it in the beginning. But to put a link to get you back to the crowdbind to set yourself up in the social network that Val just showed you. The organizing group for this group, Ron Jans from Rutgers University, somebody I've been working with for a very long time. They were one of our early Fedora users, and they've been doing lots of work with preservation and archiving systems with repositories at Rutgers, and Ron was interested and he helped me get it going. Nancy McGovern, he's acting as a steward. Nancy McGovern, who is at the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research. For those of you who know ICPSY, that's what it stands for. Nancy's our knowledge-based gardener, the one who helps us keep it up and nudges people to help to keep contributing. Our evangelist is Chris Erickson from Brigham Young University. And I should have said in the beginning, both Val and I participate as members of the organizing community group in all these communities at this point. Probably will for the foreseeable future. So in this group, we went to the free conference calling site and got a free conference call, and this is the information they can use to have those meetings. So the organizing group can have synchronous discussions to move things forward. So we keep that information there. All right, some of it, just some of the highlights, community documents and guidance. This is a really interesting idea, this topic. Nancy brought this up because a lot of her work with people doing preservation activities is finding ways to help them share their community documents. And what we mean by this is people doing things like preservation are writing up their own white papers or their own guidelines for their institution to be doing this, and this is a place we can start to share those things. Also standards, various things that are useful. So this is a place for that to grow. And over time, right now there's just a few things, but over time this can get much richer and have a complex structure all on its own into this topic. Obviously we want it to grow and change. This is Nancy's digital durability lingo. This is our what do you call it? This is our list of terms that we want to agree on how we're using terms, and we have a place to keep that. All right. Policies. This is a really interesting. This developed really quickly. All of these institutions here have their collections policies with respect to preservation and archiving out on the web, and we were able to gather together. And this is we've already been hearing from people. This is a very useful resource just in itself. So people are writing up their own frameworks for their own activities, and a lot of people are very interested in seeing what other people are doing. So this is a place you can come and do that. So some case studies. Just getting started here. Ron Jantz wrote up their case study from he really got going. It's several pages long, and it's a very interesting case study. They don't have to be that long. 2 paragraphs is enough just to let people know what you're doing. There's a lot of people who'd be very interested to be able to see what other people are doing, and this is a place to start sharing that information. Let's see, some useful sites that are out there. This is just, the list of links that would be useful to people. Obviously, that can become more complex and organized in different ways over time. Some software tools. I think it's interesting. I meant to say that in the beginning. This group has been less about coming up with a software solution around, a particular software solution around repository-enabled software around preservation and archiving, and really more about helping people understand how their repositories can become trusted archival repositories. Providing the information, the framework for them to start to understand that has been more of the point. But I think what this community looks like it will derive over time is a list of software tools that help you in that process, rather than one major application that pulls it all together. I think it's probably really appropriate to this particular topic. But it's interesting how we started with communities, the idea being to get software applications that are repository enabled around these different use case areas. And this one has developed, like I said, pragmatically and gone off in a slightly different direction, which is totally appropriate. And some general information resources, wikis and people's blogs and things like that. Some interesting stuff here that is starting to develop. All right, let's go back and I'll show you Scholar's Workbench. This one is the idea behind Scholar's Workbench is that there's the idea that you have a repository-enabled environment for doing scholarly and scientific activities, that you have lots of software tools. There are tools that help you consume and produce information, do analysis, do publications, but it all needs to go back in repositories. You'll be using data out of repositories, and this whole area is people who are interested in that problem set, that want to be working towards solutions on top of repositories that make it easy for people doing their activities to use repositories for the long-term durability of their information without having to know about the repositories. That's the basic idea. So here's their vision statement. The get involved is basically the same. Organizing group, it's a larger group, and here we have some people. We have Catherine Todd at Stanford University is acting as the steward now. Richard Green from University of Hull is the main knowledge gardener. Courtney Michael from WGBH is also working with Richard in the Wiki Knowledge Gardener group. And then Mark Hedges and Tobias Blanke from King's College London and Chris R. also from the University of Hull are all working together as the organizing group. And this group has an event coming up there's a Fedora UK and Ireland and EU joint users meeting in Oxford in conjunction with some conferences that are happening in Oxford. That the morning session is being organized by the Scholars Workbench community. So it's an example of taking advantage of some time some people are going to be together to get some activities together. And we have one present. It's not just there'll be one presenter in that group that's also using DSpace. So it's not just about Fedora. These are all about all repositories. And this group, also we have ePrints. ePrints people are involved. I'll just show you one interesting thing here. This is an example. This web stewardship responsibilities under guidelines and policies. This is a document that was put together by Madeline Vessel, who is a lawyer on the staff of the University of Virginia Library. And she put together this document for students and faculty who are working online and doing their work, what they consider their real scholarly work online and the things they should be aware of. Having a place to gather these policies and these guidelines, just like the preservation, archiving, the guidelines that people are using for their own programs, is a really important function that these groups can start to do. Okay, now I'll turn it back over to, let's see. Okay, turn it back over to Val to give you the rest of the tour.
Okay. Let's see. My normal menu is not coming up.
Hang on.
Oh, it's still on you.
Yeah.
I think, Carol, you have the ball.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think we need Green to switch the ball to me. That's okay. Well, we only have a few more minutes tonight, so maybe maybe what we should do is just close it out for now, I guess. But you can go and look at the small archives as well as the data curation groups on your own. There definitely some interesting things going on in small archives. As I said before, they have just finished a survey, and they got some good information from that survey. I think it's interesting. They have the first few bits of that information posted on their wiki for you to look at. You can also take a look at the organizing groups as well as some of their other items. They have something called Blue Sky and their wiki where they're dreaming up, if resources weren't an issue, what issues would they like, what things would they like solved. But Small Archives in particular has a keen interest in pulling together with other organizations because resources are so very tight and skinny in that group. So there's a lot of motivation for people in that community to come together. And data curation, again, is another group that has a lot of potential, and not only just to look at all the infrastructure and considerations you would have when you're trying to establish a repository to gather data, but also as a group to define what that would look like. So there's a big DataNet project going on right now, and the people in the organizing committee are actually a big part of that project, so there'll be more momentum, and we'll be hearing more about the data curation group going forward. So I think that's all we have time for now. We definitely want to leave a few minutes at least for some questions. Thorny and I thanks everyone for their attention, and we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you. At this time, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your touch-tone phone. You will be prompted to record your first and last name so that you may be announced. In order to withdraw your question, you will press star 2. Once again, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your touch-tone phone. One moment, please. And it looks as though there are no questions.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Yes, and please take a look at visit the wiki site and take a look and please get involved.
Thank you.